Okay, one last tarp video, but this time we're going to use a ridgeline. Quite typically you go to Bushcraft tarp shelter, it's traditionally something like a lean-to, where today we're going to put up our own little plough point but with a little Farrakana twist. Springtime is totally here, but with that come our April showers, so we're going to need to put something up that we can maybe stand under. We can get an awful lot more equipment in, and we've got a lot more room to spend the day as opposed to our little hunkered down enclosed shelter. Before we do, we're going to go through a couple of little bits of terminology that I might be about to use. First up, when we're talking about our ridgeline, I'm going to make reference to two parts of it: our standing end, the bit that it's not going to move, and our working end. I'm going to make reference to forming a bite. A bite is just a bend in our working end, and you see that the line doesn't cross itself over. We're going to make an overhand loop. The loop is where the line does cross itself over, and the overhand referring to the fact that the line crosses over the top of the working end. And an underhand loop, just the opposite. So we've made a loop, the line crosses over itself, however it's going to cross underneath our working end. To make our new plough point, we're going to use the exact same DD tap. This one is just slightly larger. This one is a 4x4. You can see I like to keep it in the dry bag as opposed to the bag that it comes in. Just goes in and out a little bit easier. Okay, so now that's out of the way, we've got our tarp, we've got our ridgeline. Let's go. So a plough point tarp shelter traditionally gets anchored to a tree from the corner eyelet of the tarp itself. We're going to use a ridgeline this morning. That is going to be our little Farrakana twist. First thing we're going to do is we're going to hitch our ridgeline to this beach behind us. Anyone that's spent any time down here knows that we're all about working smarter and not harder. We're going to tie the little amount of knots as possible. So this little toggle is going to be our best friend. And on all my ridgelines, I like to keep a bow line on one end, and you're going to find out why. So we're going to take the bow line on our ridgeline, pass it around the beach, roughly shoulder height. This is where our toggle comes in. In our standing end, we're going to make that bite, pass the bite through the bow line, toggle goes through the bite, pull. Job done. In utilising this toggle system, what we've done is prevented ourselves from having to tie one extra knot, and when it comes to taking everything down, it's going to come down really quickly, no fuss. Next we're going to take all the standing end of our ridgeline and I'm going to walk it around this here, trying to maintain roughly the same height. Now to put tension on our ridgeline, we're going to use a trucker's hitch this afternoon. I'm all about easy setup, easy takedown. So on the other side, to put tension on our ridgeline, we're going to use a trucker's hitch. I'm sure we'll do an entire video on this hitch one day, but for now we're going to try and make this as simple and as straightforward as possible. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to tie an overhand slip knot in our ridgeline. This we're going to use almost like a ratchet. Next up, we're going to take the working end, place it through the overhand knot that we've just tied, pull it through. And all we're going to do now is crank down on this, and that's going to put loads of tension in our ridgeline. Might be quite difficult to see what we're going to do here, but I'm going to try and explain as I go. What I'm going to do at this little junction with your thumb and your finger, Vulcan death grip on that, that is not going anywhere. I'm going to throw the entire line over both our standing ends, and we should be left with what in my head looks a little bit like a figure four. We'll reach through that figure four, grab our working end, pull, tighten down. Using this particular knot to secure everything means when we come to take everything down, we've got that quick release knot, comes down just as easy as it went up. Next we're going to attach two prussics to our ridgeline. This is a knot that was taught to me years and years ago by our volunteer Tom actually, and it's an absolute game changer. This is going to stop our tarp from moving around. What's brilliant is we can move our tarp on our ridgeline with it. With very little pressure, we can move our anchors. But put under pressure, it's not going anywhere. Now we've got our prussics attached, it's time to throw our tarp over our ridgeline. Like we were saying before, the plough point traditionally uses the corner and it's attached to the tree. We're going to take one corner, throw the entire corner off, and the two eyelets from either side, like one in, are going to be attached to each of our little prussics. And once they're attached, we'll pull these out to give it some tension. You may have noticed that we're into getting full coverage from these elements. So now these sides that are still flapping about, we're going to take the extra corners and we're going to peg those sides down. For continuity's sake, we might have noticed that our tarp's changed direction. While we've been filming this, so has the wind. So we always need to make sure that the back of our shelter is facing that wind. Ordinarily, we get these prevailing southwesterlies here, which is why we set it up facing the south. However, it's changed, so have we. We've got to be adaptive. We're pretty much back to where we were before. All we've got left to do is peg out our one last corner to stop it from blowing around in the wind. So let's do that now, and then we'll address the back. The difference between this tarp and the one that we were using to make our freestanding shelters is that this is the one that I intentionally keep to make our shelters with the ridgeline. As a result, they've got all the guy lines attached. I keep 7 in total. There are 6 that run parallel to one another on either side, and then there's 1 from our central eyelet in the middle. Speaking of our central eyelet, the first corner that we threw over our ridgeline, all I've done is doubled it back over itself and carabined it to this middle eyelet. So we spoke about having the guys already attached. This is back from that central eyelet, and this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to use to give our shelter some height. You can see there, if I let that go slack, the wind's blowing it, it's not got that much clearance. But this, if we pull it taut, you can see we're already starting to get that clearance. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this line, we're going to go to the tree behind our shelter, and we're going to attach our knot. So again, we're going to go for something super simple, quick release. It comes down just as easy as it comes up. We're going to wrap this around the tree, roughly shoulder height. And on there, we've got a nice mooring hitch. The thing about the mooring hitch is it's adjustable, so you can add more tension or more slack to the back of our shelter as you see fit. That's us done. This is from the back. Let's go check out the front and see how much headroom we've got. There we are. Absolutely tons and tons of room, almost double the space that we had in our enclosed shelters. This goes back for another 2 metres, got all the room that we could possibly want for our kit, all our equipment, maybe even a friend. If we're feeling really flash, we could throw a little ground sheet down in here, really hunker down for the day. There's plenty of space and opportunities for us with a shelter like this. As you can probably tell, I really enjoy different tarp shelters, but we're going to move on to something different next week. But until then, go explore.